A school comes under siege.
And the school is in a panic. I've got students down under the tables, kids! Heads under the tables!
When two students launch a deadly assault on Columbine High.
Oh, God! Stay in the line of thought. Oh, God! Hey, kids, just stay down!
The whole time I just pretended to be dead.
At the time, it was the worst school shooting in American history.
There were a total of 15 bodies. There were 11 males and 4 females.
While people grieve, questions turn to the motive
I'm gonna pull out a goddamn shotgun and blow your damn head off!
that drove these young men to murder,
I'll rip off your goddamn head!
and whether warning signs were missed.
When you start putting all these pieces together to the puzzle, then you're saying, boy, there's a red flag.
The questions and answers. The story behind the Columbine massacre on the final report. April the 20th, 1999. Jefferson County, Colorado. 11:10 a.m. A typical morning at Columbine High. About 2,000 students attend the school near the affluent Denver suburb of Littleton. 16-year-old Marjorie Lindholm is about to take a science test.
It was an average morning. Everything was fine. I had a big test I was kind of nervous about, and I was supposed to kind of meet a boy that day who I had a crush on.
Some students are headed for lunch. This footage from a CCTV camera shows the cafeteria slowly filling up. Within minutes, there will be 500 people in the canteen. 11:14 a.m. No one notices when someone leaves 2 duffel bags on the floor. 11:19 a.m. Outside the school's west entrance, 17-year-olds Richard Castaldo and Rachel Scott are eating lunch. As they talk, a pipe bomb lands a few feet from where they are sitting.
I didn't really realize it was supposed to be a bomb at first. I kind of thought it was like a thing of fireworks or something like that. It didn't do anything at all. I didn't really think much of it.
Then, about 60 feet away, Castaldo sees 2 male teenagers dressed in long black trench coats. Without warning, they pull out guns from under their coats. One of them has a rifle and a sawn-off shotgun. The other has a sawn-off shotgun and a semi-automatic handgun. Their actions raise the first of many questions asked by the final report. How were teenagers able to obtain such weapons?
And then they just, started shooting. And I didn't really have any time to react at all,
Rachel Scott is shot 4 times and dies instantly. Castaldo is shot 8 times, the bullet shattering 2 vertebrae. He begins to lose feeling in his legs.
Felt my feet going numb and my legs going numb. Kind of seemed like it was going from like the top up.
Who are the gunmen? While Castaldo lies motionless in the grass, 3 other students walk out of a cafeteria door. One of the gunmen aims and fires. He hits all 3. The pair then shoot 2 more students as they run for cover. How did the gunman learn to shoot with such accuracy? In the classroom, students begin to realize what is happening.
We were taking the test, and then we heard what we thought were rocks being thrown against the window. And then we heard a bunch of screaming.
In the main office, a secretary alerts the head, Frank DeAngelis.
And my secretary ran into my office and said that there had been gunshots fired. And so I ran out of my office into the hallway.
At 11:23, one of the students calls 911.
Someone's shooting a guy out here and someone got shot, I think. Okay. Can you see anything going on over there? No, some girl's on the ground saying she's paralyzed and I think she's hurt.
Police issue a citywide call for help. 1,000 officers in the area race towards the school. The gunmen now turn and head towards this entrance, firing shots into the school and littering their path with pipe bombs. Where did the gunmen get these bombs? Just inside the west entrance is teacher Patty Nielsen. She recognizes the approaching gunmen as students at the school. Immediately she turns and runs towards the library. 11:24 a.m. A Jefferson County Sheriff's deputy is first on the scene. He exchanges gunfire with one of the gunmen, but no one is hit. The head, Frank DeAngelis, is standing at the opposite end of the hall as the two enter the school.
That's where I saw the gunman enter, and that's where the shots were being fired, and then the glass was breaking behind me.
On the lower level of the school, the cafeteria camera shows 42-year-old teacher Dave Sanders warning students to get out. Some escape up a nearby staircase. Upstairs, 17-year-old Patrick Ireland and two friends are in the library.
We're just hanging out, and all of a sudden a teacher ran in to the library, screaming and yelling, saying there's two kids with guns out in the hallway.
At 11:25 a.m., teacher Patty Nielsen enters the library. She grabs the phone and dials 911.
I'm a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun, and the school is in a panic, and I'm in the library. I've got students down under the table, kids! Heads under the table! We need police here. Okay.
By now, the gunmen are inside the main hallway. Teacher Dave Sanders has just made his way up from the cafeteria and is at the end of the hall. The gunmen see Sanders and fire. He falls to the floor. Sanders is dragged into a nearby classroom where a group of terrified students is hiding. One of them is 16-year-old Marjorie Lindholm.
Two teachers helped him into the room. He had one arm over each, and he half walked and half was dragged in, and he just kind of collapsed. He had been shot twice, and he had been bleeding very, very badly.
At 11:29 a.m., the gunmen enter the library. 52 students, 2 teachers, and 2 library assistants are hiding under the tables. Among them is 16-year-old Craig Scott, the younger brother of Rachel Scott, who was shot and killed near the west entrance.
Immediately they were shooting off their guns, and they were yelling at everybody in the room. One of them said to the other, "Get anybody with a white hat on." And a lot of jocks wore white baseball caps, and I was wearing one. So I took it off and I put it underneath my shirt.
For the next 7 minutes, the two walk through the library, firing. Their methodical actions raise the question, what is their plan? Patrick Ireland and 2 friends are hiding under a table in the corner of the library.
When we got to our section, we all had our heads down in between our knees, basically.
One gunman shoots Patrick's friend in the knee. As Patrick reaches over to help him, his head momentarily appears from beneath the table.
And that's when I got shot. Got shot twice in the head and once in the foot.
Patrick loses consciousness. Craig Scott is under another table with 2 friends, 18-year-old Isaiah Scholes and 16-year-old Matt Kechter.
After a little while, they came over and they saw my friend Isaiah, and they began to make fun of him for being black. And then they shot Isaiah, and then they shot Matt. And the whole time I just pretended to be dead.
At 11:36 a.m., the gunmen leave the library and head down the hall towards the science classroom. Minutes later, about 30 students escape through an emergency exit door. Pulling up outside the school are the police and emergency services. Their priority is to stop the rampage and rescue the students inside. Coming up next on The Final Report. April the 20th, 1999, 11:40 a.m. Police and emergency services from all over Denver, Colorado are racing to Columbine High School.
Jefferson County is getting shots fired at officers. 2 males in trench coats have shotguns and possible grenades.
Among the responding officers is Dan Delmonico, a member of the Denver Police Department SWAT team. The information coming in over the radio is alarming.
It was a military-type assault on the school, that they may have explosives and automatic weapons.
As police arrive, the gunmen make their way to the cafeteria. 11:44 a.m. This CCTV footage shows one of the gunmen firing at the duffel bags he and his partner left earlier. Eventually, one ignites, starting a fire. The fire activates the sprinklers and a fire alarm a few minutes later. Students who'd been hiding under tables now run for their lives. Outside, a student provides police with a vital piece of information. He's identified one of the gunmen as a Columbine pupil, 18-year-old Eric Harris. A computer check reveals that Eric Harris has a police record. His file contains the name of 17-year-old Dylan Klebold, also a Columbine pupil. The pair had been arrested in January 1998 for breaking into a van.
I took one of my chief deputies and we got in my car and we drove to Columbine High School. And I actually went with identifying information for Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold.
Other students confirm that Dylan Klebold is the second gunman. 12:02 p.m. Outside the school, police hear gunfire coming from the library. On the east side of the building, SWAT officers divide into teams. They will enter the school at various locations and move towards the gunfire.
In an active shooter situation, you go to the noise, you go to the shooter, you neutralize them whatever way you have to, and it's over.
At 12:06 p.m., a SWAT team enters the east side of the building. Another SWAT team makes its way to the west side of the school. They move slowly, using a fire engine as a shield. 12:34 p.m. Outside, near the west entrance, 17-year-old Richard Castaldo is at last rescued. He's been lying in the grass for more than an hour, having been shot 8 times.
And it just took me over to like a fire truck there too or something, I remember. I mean, I guess I knew I was okay then, you know, that I was actually gonna, I was actually gonna live at that point.
At 1:09 p.m., one of the SWAT teams enters the school through a ground floor window near the cafeteria.
We were standing in about a foot deep of water, and the noise of the fire alarm continuously going on. It was very loud. It was tough to communicate with the officers.
Police find roughly 30 students hiding in the school kitchen. The SWAT team rushed them out of the same ground floor window they had entered. All the students are ordered to keep their hands on their heads and are frisked before being allowed to leave.
We'd gotten information that the suspects were changing clothes and trying to blend in with the students. That's why you see the kids with their hands on their head, because we don't know who we have.
1:45 p.m. In the science classroom, teacher Dave Sanders clings to life. Students put a sign up in the window. Marjorie Lindholm can't believe help hasn't yet arrived. It has already been 2 hours.
I wondered what was taking so long because the 911 operator made it sound like they were around the corner. Every time we asked, where are they?
Why does it take so long for help to arrive? As the SWAT teams slowly move through the school, they discover hundreds of pupils and teachers barricaded inside classrooms.
As you moved into hallways, you would find locked doors. As we would breach these doors and enter these rooms, and you found people hiding.
When we would come across them, it would take us a little bit of time to convince them that, no, we're not the bad guys, we're the cops.
After being escorted to safety, pupils are reunited with their parents. There they tell reporters about the moment they came face to face with the gunmen.
Everyone around me got shot, and I begged him for 10 minutes not to shoot me. And he just put the gun in my face and started laughing, saying that it was all because people were mean to him last year.
Did the gunmen target specific students? 2:38 p.m. In the library, Patrick Ireland regains consciousness after being shot twice in the head 3 hours earlier.
I didn't know if they were still in the library or still in the school or if there were more of them coming, but I knew I had to get out.
Patrick tries to stand up, but he can't.
My whole right side of my body was completely paralyzed. So I ended up rolling over onto my back and pushing myself with my good leg, my left leg, on the floor, weaving through tables and chairs, and ultimately getting over to the window.
A SWAT team on the ground sees Patrick and rushes in to help. Still bleeding profusely, Patrick plunges headfirst out of a second-story library window and into the arms of police. 2:42 p.m. After securing most of the entire school, police finally reach the science room where students are waiting with teacher Dave Sanders, shot 3 hours earlier. SWAT officer Dan Delmonico says that finding the classroom wasn't easy.
We had no maps, we had no direction of the place, and as we started moving, we had nobody telling us, okay, the science room, if you're here, go there.
While SWAT officers wait for paramedics to be escorted into the building along a secured path, Dave Sanders dies from his wounds. 3:22 p.m. Almost an hour later, police finally reach the library, where they make the most horrifying discovery of all. Officer Tom McKibben is among the first to arrive.
You see a lot of gruesome deaths, but never, you know, in that magnitude. You'd see kids laying face down, some of them on top of each other, next to each other.
Then they find the bodies of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. There is no doubt they are the gunmen. Fully armed and surrounded by guns and explosives, they died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Did they intend to commit suicide all along? The investigation and the answers to our questions are next, when the final report continues. April the 20th, 1999. The rampage of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold at Columbine High School is over. Students are in shock.
I was under a table and people were getting shot all around me.
They got automatic weapons, sawed-off shotguns, and pipe bombs.
The dead include 12 students, 4 females and 8 males, 1 teacher and the 2 gunmen. Throughout the school, police find pipe bombs and shell casings, evidence left behind at one of the worst school shootings in American history. The level of violence leaves police and school officials wondering, did the teachers at Columbine notice any warning signs? That night, at Eric and Dylan's homes, police discover a wealth of evidence, including ammunition, metal pipes, fuses, violent essays, and journals. They also seize a series of home videos made by Eric and Dylan in the months before the massacre.
No, no, no.
Yo, hey, what's going on, dude? This is Dylan.
Investigators question the parents and consider whether they should be held accountable for their actions. What did their parents know? In the days following the shootings, flowers are placed all around the school. For the grief-stricken community, the most troubling question remains: why did Eric and Dylan go on their murderous rampage? Police begin their investigation by scrutinizing the evidence seized from Eric and Dylan's homes. The items provide the answers to many of the questions this program has asked, but the most intriguing is, who were the gunmen? Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold seem to be normal, if occasionally troubled, teenagers. Journalist Dave Cullen investigated the shooting and believes reports that painted Eric and Dylan as misfits are incorrect.
It's a complete myth that they were outcasts. They had a huge group of friends. They went to Friday night rock and roll. Dylan went to the prom. Eric had lots of dates.
Eric and Dylan both worked at this local pizzeria and played video games together. And according to Columbine High School head Frank DeAngelis, Eric and Dylan did well in school.
They were very adept at using the computers. They were in a video production class. Eric was in some of our upper-level classes. They were good students.
After the shootings, news reports that claimed Eric and Dylan were outcasts also said they were taking revenge against school bullies and were members of a so-called trenchcoat mafia. While there had been a group of students at Columbine High who called themselves the Trenchcoat Mafia, Eric and Dylan were not members. Although in this video, the pair do portray themselves as assassins in black trench coats.
Do not even screw with that little kid! If you do, I'll rip off your goddamn head!
This video, made for a class project, is based on an essay by Eric entitled Trenchcoat Mafia Hitmen for Hire.
I don't care what you say. If you ever touch him again, I will frickin' kill you.
FBI Special Agent Dwayne Fusilier says Eric and Dylan wore trench coats during the attack out of necessity.
The only reason they had these long coats on was so that both of them could carry a shotgun on a sling and a 9mm carbine on a sling without being seen.
Of the two, Dylan Klebold, who had an explosive temper, seemed the most likely to get into trouble.
When Dylan got mad, you would hear about it. He would just erupt. He just went ballistic.
Dylan was known to swear at teachers and fight with his boss at the pizzeria. One of Dylan's oldest friends was Brooks Brown. Brooks' parents, Randy and Judy Brown, say Dylan spent a lot of time at their home when the boys were younger.
Dylan was the shyest child I'd ever met. When he would come over here, every time he'd have to warm up and kind of loosen up for a few minutes, you know, and then you could get him to open up.
Unlike Dylan, Eric was outgoing and seemingly confident. This video shows Eric flirting with a classmate in the school cafeteria. Eric was known for his calm and deferential behavior.
Eric was all about minimizing the damage. You know, yes sir, no sir, you know, suck up all he needed to do, say all the right things to get out of there.
Eric and Dylan met in junior school and eventually became best friends. In 1998, they had a run-in with the law. On January the 30th, they broke into a locked van and stole some electronics. They were arrested and charged with criminal trespassing and theft. Both boys pleaded guilty. A judge ordered them to take part in a youth diversion program, probation for first-time non-violent offenders. The program's counselors discovered that Eric had difficulty controlling his temper and ordered him to take anger management classes. The classes appeared to help. But in March, Randy and Judy Brown discovered that Eric had his own website, which contained a death threat against their son, Brooks. On his site, Eric wrote, "All I want to do is kill as many of you as I can, especially a few people like Brooks Brown." Eric also bragged that he and Dylan had been building and detonating pipe bombs. The Browns filed a report with the local sheriff's department. 2 weeks later, they followed it up with a meeting with a detective. According to the Browns, he assured them that there was enough information to investigate Eric for his bomb-making activities. It wasn't until after the Columbine tragedy that the Browns discovered that police never pursued their investigation. But investigators did draft an affidavit, the first step in obtaining a search warrant. The draft affidavit showed that they suspected a connection between Eric and an unsolved pipe bomb case. It read, on February the 15th, 1998, there was a report of a pipe bomb. The size is consistent with the devices labeled by Harris.
That affidavit made it clear that the characteristics of that pipe bomb were identical to the ones he had written about on his webpage.
Reporter Kevin Vaughan believes that had police pursued the investigation and searched the Harris home, they might have found pipe bombs and early evidence of the plot.
You have to ask yourself whether they would have found things that would have led them to have stopped Columbine from happening.
But a search warrant was never obtained and the case was eventually closed. In 2004, the Colorado Attorney General's office examined the Browns case and found that police believed they didn't have probable cause to pursue the search warrant. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Department declined requests for an interview with the final report. April the 26th, 1998. Not long after the Browns' meeting with police, Eric outlined in his journal initial plans for an attack on a high school, a full year before the assault on Columbine. Over the next 12 months, Eric and Dylan began gathering supplies. What was their plan? To blow up the cafeteria and shoot people as they fled.
The first thing to realize about Columbine, it was not intended just as a school shooting. I mean, it was intended as a bombing.
Eric wrote, "We will be in all black, dusters, black army pants. It'll be like the LA riots, the Oklahoma bombing, World War II, Vietnam, all mixed together."
They wanted to harm as many people as they could. I think their plans were very grandiose, and they were going to take it as far as they could take it.
On the day of the attack, the pair would plant bombs in the cafeteria. They'd wait by their cars for the bombs to detonate, then shoot at students and teachers as they tried to escape the flames. Did they intend to commit suicide all along? Yes, based on their journal entries.
They did not expect to come out of that alive. Their plan all along was to die in the incident, either from police bullets or from by their own hand.
They had imagined this, huge firefight with the cops, this war.
Satisfied with their plan, Eric and Dylan set a tentative date and turned their thoughts to weapons. In his journal, Eric wrote, "It will be very tricky getting all of our supplies, explosives, weaponry, ammo, and then hiding it all." 5 months before the assault, Eric and Dylan attempted to purchase some weapons at a gun show in Denver, but were unable to due to their age. A frustrated Eric wrote in his journal, "I have enough explosives to kill about 100 people. That just isn't enough. Guns. I need guns." On the day of the killings, the two brandished sawn-off shotguns, a rifle and a semi-automatic handgun. How were teenagers able to get weapons like these? Older friends, unaware of the plot, provided them to Eric and Dylan. The day after their unsuccessful attempt to buy weapons, Eric and Dylan tried again. This time, they recruited an unwitting accomplice from school, someone old enough to legally buy guns. They returned to the same gun show, where their 18-year-old friend purchased the shotguns. In his journal, Eric declared it a triumph, writing, "It's all over now. This capped it off." 3 months before the assault, Eric and Dylan enlisted the help of someone they worked with, Phil Duran. He introduced the pair to another man, Mark Maines, who sold them a semi-automatic pistol for $500. Duran and Maines were later convicted and served time for selling a gun to minors. Once Eric and Dylan had their weapons, they'd overcome their biggest obstacle. Now they maintained a low profile, kept to a normal routine and attended classes. Did the teachers at Columbine notice any warning signs? Yes, an English teacher became alarmed about an essay by Dylan. February 1999. 2 months after making their Hitman video that went unreported by school officials, Dylan submitted an essay about a man in a trench coat who embarks upon a shooting spree. Alarmed, the teacher scheduled an appointment to meet Dylan's parents, and in a note to Dylan she wrote, "You are an excellent writer and storyteller, but I have some problems with this one."
The teacher did contact the parents. Parents said they would address the issue, and it stopped after that.
When confronted by his parents about the essay, Dylan told them it was just a story. His teacher did not report any further problems. But Eric and Dylan used the school's television production equipment again to produce a disturbing home video. This footage, recovered from Eric's home hours after the attack, helps answer the question, how did they learn to shoot with such accuracy? They practiced at a shooting range. March 1999. 1 month before their rampage, Eric and Dylan took a video camera to a makeshift firing range in the mountains just outside Denver. In the video, they can be seen honing their skills by firing at trees and bowling pins, and marveling at the destruction they can cause.
Tree exit. Imagine that in someone's fucking brain.
According to Columbine head teacher Frank DeAngelis, the school was unaware they had made this home video. In the following weeks, they built more bombs and finalized their plans. Then, after 12 months of preparation, they launched their assault on their target. On April the 20th, 1999, in a 49-minute rampage, Eric and Dylan gunned down a dozen students, 1 teacher, and wounded 24. After the attack, it was widely reported that the killers had a hit list of students. Did Eric and Dylan target specific students? No, everyone was a target. Eric and Dylan expected their bombs to do most of the killing. When they didn't go off, the two began firing indiscriminately.
Everyone they shot was a target of opportunity. That person just happened to be literally where they were when they were shooting.
One of the people who got in the way was teacher Dave Sanders, who died before he could be moved. Why did it take so long for help to arrive? SWAT teams had to secure the school room by room. When SWAT teams first entered the building, they moved towards the gunfire. But when the shooting stopped, they began a methodical room-by-room search for the gunmen.
When it goes quiet, and it adds a whole different dynamic. Now we're dealing with a possible hostage situation. You couldn't just run through the building and run to the library.
Police also found it difficult to navigate themselves around the school.
It wasn't just a school with a straight hallway with rooms on each side. Every room that you went into was a larger area that broke off into other areas.
In the aftermath of this tragedy, questions arose about what the killer's parents knew in the months before the assault.
I'm sure they spend many, many hours asking the question, what did we do wrong?
That's next, in the conclusion of the final report. April the 20th, 1999, Columbine High School. In a 49-minute rampage, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold murdered 12 students, 1 teacher, and injured 24, before turning their guns on themselves. Afterwards, victims and their families wondered how the pair could have planned this attack without their parents finding out, raising the question, what did their parents know? It appears Eric's parents did know of some troubling behavior. What Dylan's parents knew is less clear. Since the killings, both sets of parents have declined nearly all interview requests, speaking only to police through their lawyers. From these reports and from clues found in the evidence, it appeared Eric's parents had observed some disturbing behavior. 2 years before the assault, Eric's father, Wayne Harris, began a journal. In it, he documented some of Eric's conduct. Eric, he wrote, was unwilling to control sleep habits and unwilling to control study habits. A 1998 entry in Eric's journal seemed to indicate that his father had confronted him about making pipe bombs. He wrote, "I lie a lot. What are some big lies I've told? No, I haven't been making more bombs. I wouldn't do that."
Eric's skill at deceiving people, at hiding the things, at hiding his own reactions, helped him cover it all up.
After Eric and Dylan were arrested for breaking into the van in January 1998 and placed on probation, Eric was sent to a psychiatrist. His doctor prescribed an antidepressant typically used to treat obsessive-compulsive disorder. According to Eric's parents, he took the medication regularly. But his pattern of lying continued. In May 1998, he wrote a letter of apology to the owner of the van he'd broken into.
He says, "I'm not just sorry I got caught. I'm sorry I did it, and I understand the difference." And at the same time that he's writing that, he's writing in his journal this rant saying, why shouldn't I have the right to break into a van of some mother effer who, leaves it out in the middle of nowhere?
In February 1999, Eric completed the diversion program, probation for first-time non-violent offenders.
The diversion officer wrote a glowing report saying that, he was a bright, wonderful young man who great things were going to happen to him someday. This was about a month and a half before the massacre.
As for Dylan's parents, less is known about their knowledge of their son's actions. After the shooting, Tom and Susan Klebold told police they hadn't noticed any recent unusual behavior, only that Dylan seemed a little sadder. In the final analysis, the most difficult question remains. Why did Eric and Dylan go on their murderous rampage? They wrote extensively about how they'd carry it out, but far less about why. Even so, their own words provide some hints. It seems revenge for their January 1998 arrest played a role. When Eric entered the youth diversion program, he wrote that the arrest was the most traumatic thing to him.
It was in April of 1998, they went before the judge and were put into this program. And not coincidentally, I think, is April of 98 is when Eric starts his journal. And when he writes the opening line, "I hate the effing world." And really starts planning it.
Later that month, in a note to Eric, Dylan also alluded to the arrest. Writing, "We, the gods, will have so much fun. Killing enemies, blowing up stuff, killing cops. My wrath for January's incident will be godlike." Clinical psychologist and the FBI's senior investigator, Duane Fusilier, analyzed the writings and videos left behind by Eric and Dylan.
Eric, and by inclusion Dylan, were better than everyone else. Truly had a contempt for, in his own words, the entire human race.
On a website, Eric described his fascination with Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection. He wrote, "Natural selection? Damn, it's the best thing that ever happened to the Earth. Getting rid of all the stupid and weak organisms."
Eric Harris talks in his journal about how he would like to put everybody in a super doom game and see, whoever can fend for themselves and get out lives, whoever doesn't, doesn't.
On the day of the shooting, Eric wore a white t-shirt with the words "Natural Selection" printed on the front. Dylan's black t-shirt said "Wrath." Although their medical records remain sealed, there is evidence that the two suffered serious psychological problems. While Dillon ranted aloud about his alleged superiority, privately, his journal entries suggest a self-loathing.
In some of his writings, he's extremely elated because he's found the girl of his dreams, and then literally a month later, his next writing says, "I want to die, this girl doesn't know who I am."
And underneath Eric's pleasant exterior was an angry, deluded adolescent.
Eric had a tremendous amount of anger, hatred, the lack of a conscience. He simply didn't care about hurting other people, wanted to hurt other people, and wanted to hurt almost everyone.
In the final report, it's clear that in the year leading up to the assault, there were opportunities that could have exposed the plot to attack Columbine. But information was not fully shared between local police, the school, and the parents, and the plot went unnoticed.
He had all of the different pieces of information that people had. People in the community, friends, parents, school administrators, law enforcement, had all those entities somehow gotten that information together. Yes, it would have been very alarming.
In May 2000, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department released its official report on the shootings. It contained a detailed timeline and nearly 10,000 pieces of evidence. The report concluded that Eric and Dillon acted without outside help. Yet some documents remain classified. The unreleased material includes videotapes known as the basement tapes, in which Eric and Dillon reportedly discussed their motives for the massacre. Officials cite the potential for copycat crimes as the reason for withholding these tapes and documents. By August 2003, the parents of Dillon and Eric had settled lawsuits with nearly all the families of the slain and injured students. Both families still live in Jefferson County. The repercussions of the Columbine murders were felt nationwide. Schools nationwide have adopted so-called zero-tolerance policies concerning weapons and violent behavior, and improved crisis response plans. Despite these programs, school-associated violence remains a problem. Between May 1999 and 2006, approximately 100 students were killed in school shootings across America. In 2006 alone, in 7 separate school shootings, 10 students were killed. Some survivors of Columbine made miraculous recoveries. Patrick Ireland, who was shot in the head twice, spent 7 months in rehabilitation. He made a nearly full recovery and graduated in 2000.
I was focusing on me getting better, getting back to as strong as I could, as smart as I could, and I was able to do that.
Nevertheless, that horrifying day in April 1999 has left a permanent scar on those who experienced the massacre firsthand.